Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Jumpstart Monday. We are broadcasting live on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on YouTube. So thank you for being with us today. In this lovely Monday, we have started a new series on Jumpstart Monday, where we will be talking about personalities and how they affect our motivation and how they affect the way we communicate with each other. We have decided to do this series for two reasons. One reason is that we get a lot of questions in this Jumpstart Monday that are related to communicating with different personalities. One example is, my boss is not listening to me. How do I make them listen? Or my colleague is behaving in a way that I don't really like. How do I communicate with them? And the other reason is that we received a lot of requests lately from companies who are thinking, maybe because the world is changing a lot after the pandemic, and they are asking us to do programs inside the company for increasing the communication, the self-awareness, and the collaboration of the team. Now, one example that I have to give you about personality and how it affects us, I will bring you to the animal kingdom instead of the human kingdom to tell you this example. In the animal kingdom, we see that dogs and cats, usually they don't communicate with each other unless they grow up in the same environment. And the reason is that cats and dogs, they have a different body language, they have a different way of communicating. And when they become adults, it's very hard for them to understand the other animals. So they tend to think that it's a threat. Whereas when they grow up together, they learn how they communicate. So a similar thing happens with humans. If we learn how the other person is motivated and is communicating, it's much easier to connect with them, to communicate with them. I have talked a lot. I'm going to bring Michael on the stream and ask Michael, which tool we are going to talk about today. And firstly, how did you come across this tool?
Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Sophia. I loved your introduction. Dear friends, drop a note where you're coming from. If you're watching us live or recorded, from which country. We would love to hear from you. And please do share this episode so we can touch more lives and influence more people in the process. We're talking about the Enneagram psychometric test, Sophia, today. But before I tell you about the Enneagram psychometric test, I believe it's good to tell you how I came across it. And the story is as follows. I was reading a book by Tim Ferriss. I highly suggest Tim Ferriss as an author if you haven't read some of his books. And that book was a huge book. Like this, there were interviews of successful people and how they became successful. So as I was reading, I came across the Dropbox owner, and each person had around 3 pages attributed to them. So the Dropbox owner, the guy who went, I believe, first up in the cloud, said, do you know the Enneagram psychometric test? If you don't know yourself. If your collaborators, if your team doesn't have taken the Enneagram test, you don't know your team. And if your wife hasn't taken the Enneagram test, you don't know your wife. And I was shocked. I immediately had a feeling that this is a test I should be approved in. So I called at the time my friend Michael Solomondos, who were working together. I said, Mike, please book to go to London and become approved. Michael came back after a few hours. He said, Mike, it's going to cost 10,000 euros. Should we do it? I said, yes, let's go ahead. Let's do it. So we went to the United Kingdom together. We sat down for 5 days of training, intensive training. As soon as we sat down, we opened the book. I opened the book, the booklet. I see some spiritual things, Sophia, in there. And I said to Michael, where did we come? What is this? What is this crap? And Mike said, oh, wait, I can't believe it. You had a feeling that we should come here. We acted immediately. We paid 10,000 euros, and now you're telling me what is this crap? And Sophia, as soon as my Enneagram psychometric test came out, which was the street perfectionist, the number one type, which I'm going to be mentioning in a while, inside one of the pages, it said that Michael leads with his feeling. Then the second strongest is his action. So I felt that we should do the Enneagram. We acted in doing the Enneagram. And the last one, Sophia, was the thinking part. I didn't even think about it. I just acted. So today, my dear friends, we're looking at the Enneagram, the one that you see now on your screen. It's based on the 9 types of people coming from our ancient ancestors, if you're Greek, that is, Socrates, Aristotle. Ennea means 9. It's the Greek word for 9. And gram is the diagram, which is the diagram you see here. So the Enneagram theory states that people are born with a dominant personality type. Doesn't mean that you are that type all the time, but it's your dominant personality type. And then those types can be molded by the environment and experience in someone's life. So if you take the Enneagram test and you receive your dominant type, but resonate with other types as well, this is completely natural. So Sophia, over to you. Tell us which types we're looking at today, and we take it from there. Let's go.
Yeah, because we want to keep these episodes short, we will be presenting 3 types each week. So we have 2 more parts to this series. And we will be dividing them in the following way. I'm going to switch to the Enneagram graphic again, just to show you.
Please.
The Enneagram theory says that the types are divided into 3 types. The first type is the gut triad. These are the types 8, 9, and 1. And these types are, just like Michael, guided by their gut. And they are also, their vice or their, let's say, bad emotion is anger. They get angry when things don't go perfect. The next triad is the heart triad. These are the 2, 3, and 4. And these people, they are guided by their feelings and they are extremely image conscious. And finally, the head triad, the 5, 6, 7, they are the people who are driven by their head and they want to think before they act carefully. So in each episode, we will be presenting 1 type from each triad. And I urge you, if you recognize yourself in these descriptions, let us know in the comments and let us know what type of behavior makes you identify with this type.
We're only showing 3 for today. It's going to take 3 weeks to complete the 9, okay?
Exactly.
So Sophia, what do we have in store for today? Where do we start?
Yeah, we start with you, Michael, actually, with the strict perfectionist.
Okay, let's have a photo up, Sophia. Thank you. So guys, the strict perfectionist, let me give you some time to digest what it says on the right. The worldview of the strict perfectionist is that the world is imperfect and you can work towards improving it and improving yourself. The self-talk, I go a bit further down, is that I must be perfect, I must avoid mistakes. The gifts that the strict perfection has is that goodness, dignity, and wholeness. But there's also a vice. This is perhaps one of the few psychometric tests that it gives you the advice, is that this vice is expressed in anger, expressed as irritation, frustration, and resentment, or self-righteousness, hurtful criticism of self and others for not being perfect or for not turning perfect work. So Sophia, if we can give some advice to people, is that strict perfectionists like myself love working with a list. I write everything down. I love things being written down. And just a few weeks ago, I went to the office of an executive. That executive was amazing. He had his list down. He would tick all the boxes whilst he was talking to me. When the conversation has gone astray, he would bring me back to point 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, and he would move along. As soon as I saw that, and because then we agreed, we had the Enneagram test, he was a strict perfectionist. I was sure about that. And it was a beauty, at least for me as a strict perfectionist. And now you're going to be asking me, what are the strict perfectionist's vices? We get upset most of the times because we see the world as black or white. You either do it well or you don't do it well. And working with various people throughout my career, I have understood that this was a mistake on my behalf, on my predominant type. So I shifted to tell people what to do, don't tell them how to do it, and they will surprise you with their ingenuity. That's exactly what happened. I started giving trust to people. I started explaining myself. If you give me some work, please give it to me in a list type, and that will help. But I was patient with them until they understood it and until we started working along even better. And the other thing, Sophia, is that I find it very hard to ship my work, to say it's done, let's go and do it, because I almost always, I think it's not perfect. And when we came out with the stand up, stand out, I remember I told my colleague and associate at the time, don't upload this online course on public speaking. I don't feel it's great. He said, what do you mean? I don't feel it's great. Let's shoot it again. He said, Michael, you must be crazy. We've done a very good job. We'll upload it. We uploaded it, and from that on, it went. It was a success. It has gone very well. But if it was up to me, I don't know what I would have uploaded. I don't know what I would have shipped. It would have stayed idle. So strict perfection is sometimes, or most of the times, they put hurdles from themselves high enough so they cannot jump them. So this is it. So if you're going to ask guys, if I'm working with a strict perfectionist as a manager, what should I do? Always present things from a list. Don't start dropping ideas just like that, or talking about 5 different things without putting them in a list. Or if you want to talk about it randomly, at least give it to them in a list format.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are strict perfectionists working with others, give them the benefit of the doubt. Trust them, they will do a good job. And my feeling is that people will do a good job because they are smarter than you in some sort of way, and guide them and send the instructions in writing, but be a bit lenient with the other types. So this is a strict perfectionist, Sophia. I pass it on to you for the second type.
Yeah, and I think just to add on this, from my view, working with a strict perfectionist is if you get upset why the other person is insisting that things should be done in a certain way, try to be lenient and try to see it from their view. For them, it is important to underline before the 2 dots. It is important to do certain things in a certain way. And by being lenient to this, then you show them slowly that they can also let go of some things.
Very well said, Sophia. Very well said.
And with that, let's move on to the other type, which is a considerate helper. Let us show it on the screen. This type you will recognize maybe from your environment. I recognize it with my mother. The considerate helpers, they feel that people depend on them for help. They believe they have worth because they are liked and they are needed. They say to themselves, I must be helpful. And their gifts are compassion, love, humility. That's why they are usually liked by other people. Their their biggest vice is pride. And it is expressed in a way that is showing a bit of inflated self-importance. They are saying, if I helped you with 5 things, then you should help me with 5 more.
Well said.
So Michael, tell us, in your experience working with many Enneagram types, what are the practical characteristics, and or better yet, what is the main good point of a helper and what is their vice?
Okay, Sophia, great question. I love working with considerate helpers. They are the people who are going to stop everything to help you. Very recently, I came across a considerate helper. Her name is Despina, and I was impressed. She has helped set up the whole process with the company we're training in Libya. It's a 2,000 people company. She was immaculate. I was impressed. Very helpful. So having considerate helpers in your team is a blessing. And I think these people are born like this, or they learn through empathy through their parents. But there is a vice. I've seen it in almost each and every considerate helper. If you don't help them at the time that they need you, they take it personally. Not only do they take it personally, but they're willing to jump ship. That means they're willing to quit, to hand in their resignation and leave the company because they feel betrayed, because you haven't reciprocated when they needed you, because for all that time They were reciprocating. And with so many considerate helpers that I work with, one-on-one coaching them, I found it very hard to break through this wall and explain that you shouldn't keep score. Do it and don't keep score. Even at church, they tell you, don't worry. Once you go up in heaven, they will take care of you. But once you go up in heaven, not today, you know? So wait, be patient, and don't keep score. If you start writing thank you notes to executives and thanking them about their work and no one responds, don't get disappointed. One day they will respond. One day they will tell you, you are the guy who wrote the thank you note. I still remember it. And it happened to me 10 years down the line because I did something good in the past. It came and found me 10 years down the line. Be patient, don't keep score. And that's the tip. And there are many things we can say, Sophia, but we need a minimum of 2 hours per type.
Yeah, definitely. And one tip on how to handle such types, or how to handle when the challenge of giving them feedback. One advice I would give you is try to stay positive and try to do it in private. Remember that the heart center triad is focused on image. They don't want to be embarrassed in public. And then tell them that if they change this little thing, it will help improve your relationship, because relationships are the most important thing for them.
Well said.
Yeah, so
So,
let's
yeah,
move to the next type, which is I recognize it very well.
because it's Sophia's type.
Yes.
Here is Sophia, not the lady that you saw in the photo, but the type. Ella, Sophia,
Yeah,
go
so
ahead.
the number 7, enthusiastic visionary, they are people who look at the future as the world is full of exciting possibilities. Their self talk is, I deserve what I want. What's next? I must move forward. I must have freedom. I am smiling because, anyway, and their gifts are joy, generosity, freedom, and gratitude, but their vice is gluttony. They want to have, they crave new experiences, they crave new connections, they crave new things all the time. And yeah, that's these are the main characteristics. But in practical terms, what does it mean, Michael? I have an example, but give us your opinion
It
first.
means that you are perfect, Sophia. It means that you are the number one type in the world. It means that everyone should be working with you. So, I love working with enthusiastic visionaries. Even my type one, I don't want to get into all of this, but if you look at, there is a release and a stretch from each type. In my type, the release, the one that makes me feel excellent, is the number 7. That's Sophia's type. So even in hiring decisions, you need to know your release, your stretch, but also to understand where, in which window, in which type you should get into when you want to release energy. And working with people like Sophia, I find it that it's a blessing. They give you ideas into the future. They can help your company grow, your department work smoothly. The only thing, Sophia, that I've seen is that the enthusiastic visionaries get tired of doing work that is repetitive. And in order to succeed in business and in life, and now you cannot stop it because this is a live show, is that you need to, and they need to understand that it's repetition and the small things that build the big things that make you a champion. So this is it. So if I tell Sophia I have a video or a passage or a whole book on the future, next morning she will analyze everything. If I tell her this is a mundane task and you need to do it, or we need to do it again and again, maybe next morning we're talking about the book I was talking earlier. So this is it. But tell us the story, Sophia. Tell us the story.
Yeah, definitely. I relate to that. You're right. Now, yeah, the story I have is a story of a successful business person. When I was doing my MBA, we did some case studies to understand actually people who succeed. And me and my friend, we visited Paul Morfidis. If you know him, he's one of the founders of Cocomat, which is a successful international company for mattresses and furniture. And it was very characteristic when we met him. He was like, "Hi, girls, let me show you my new bicycle." He had a bicycle that was made of wood. He had all these ideas. I mean, he wouldn't stop talking about his ideas. So I told him, I mean, you have amazing ideas. How do you make sure that these ideas get done? And he told me, you know what? If I was by myself, I wouldn't do anything. That's why I partnered with my brother. My brother is very different to me. He studied law. He is very structured. He gets things done. And the way we communicate or the way we collaborate is that I give him the ideas or I put the ideas on paper, and I understand that not all of them will be done on time, and I let him handle the practical stuff. And we have seen many couples like this in business. I don't mean love couples, like Steve Jobs and Wozniak, different characters, again, who complement each other. And maybe if you take one thing out of these discussions is that yes, we have difficulty communicating with other personalities, but if we understand the other personalities and we collaborate with them, we can do great things.
I totally agree with you, Sophia, and I love the way how you ended it. Just let me reiterate that you are not one type. You are predominantly
Yes.
one type. And perhaps, Sophia, the reason why we had in the United States and all over the world the great resignation is not because of the pandemic mainly, but mainly because some managers, some leaders couldn't understand what's going on in their teams. They couldn't handle different types and different personalities. And if we can do that, we can have stronger teams, happier teams, because an organization cannot be stronger than its weakest team, well, its weakest department, and a department cannot be stronger than its weakest link, than the individual. So we work with the individual to help the department, to help the organization. And this is the reason we saw so many companies coming to us lately with a 360-degree feedback and personality test. And we thought wise to tell you that instead of paying for it, we can help you with this series. It's going to be 3 weeks long. But Sophia, note that next week I'm taking my son to Ayanaba to play in the football tournament. So I'll be in the sun from morning until evening. So maybe we'll skip 1 week and we come
Yes.
after in 4 weeks to finish another 3 weeks.
Yes.
Is
That's
that
what we
okay?
will
Great.
do.
That's what we'll do. Thank you very much. Drop us in the comment which type you believe you are. If you want to wait and to listen to the rest of the types and see, please do so. And hope to see you all next Monday. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. I'm loving the comments, by the way.
Yeah, I love the comments as well. Good morning, Richard. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much.
Before we go,
Yes.
we forgot something.
What did we forget, Sophia?
There it is. In just a few weeks, and I'm happy that I will be there as well. So I have to announce it. We are bringing back a Dress for Success, a workshop on public speaking, 7 hours at the Four Seasons Hotel in Limassol. Join us. You will learn, you will have fun, and you will create a speech that will motivate millions, if I may say so.
Great. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you, everyone, and talk to you very